As it turns out, every 2 years, in my experience, my board of directors can change. And it can change a little or it can change a lot. And in this case, it's changing a lot. And we have some opportunity in the very near future to welcome new folks to this council as we have before. But tonight, we're going to take the opportunity to recognize and thank the folks who are departing this august body for their efforts. What folks who don't serve on the Missoula City Council may not understand necessarily is it takes a particular load of fortitude, and when you sign up, you don't necessarily know what you're going to get. You're often faced with issues that you never expected and emotions that you have never experienced, and anxiousness, and in some cases you're struggling with making a decision that's going to make some folks happy and some folks sad. And you're always in the business of looking for the greater good, and it is work that should be respected and work that should be admired and work that should be appreciated. And even though that doesn't happen every day in this chamber, I think it happens largely in the hearts and minds of the folks who serve, and certainly if you have done this work, you know what it takes. So you all deserve gratitude from the community, the folks you have endeavored to serve every day, because it's not the part-time job that it appears to be. This stuff is always on your mind. So thank you for the great work you have done. And personally, I'd like to thank all of you for the great work you have done and will continue to do in the community. We have some items here to commemorate your service. These are plaques that simply say appreciation and recognition of your service as a city council member for the city of Missoula, and in this case, Ward 6, presented to Ed Childers for the years 2000 through 2016. What folks need to remember about Ed is that he has served in local government in one way or another since 1977. Ed was the elected treasurer of the city of Missoula. Ed was the appointed treasurer of the city of Missoula. He worked in the treasurer's office at the city of Missoula, and he has served with remarkable dignity and passion as a council member. Ed is the only remaining person on this body with whom I served as a council member. He was and is a mentor to me. He is a man of great passion and compassion. He always has the little guy in mind. He always has constituent service in mind. He is brilliant. He is sarcastic. He is funny. He is occasionally crazy-making. But at the end of the day, he always has the good of the community in his heart and on his mind. And I thank you, Ed Childers, for your tremendous service to the city of Missoula. We're keeping these as a budget measure. No, you'll actually get them back. We are not going in any particular order here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going in the order that these were handed to me. This award is for representing Missoula's Ward 1. This is presented to Councilman Jason Weiner for his service from 2008 through 2016. Ed is a little bit older than I am. Jason is a little bit younger than I am. And the first time I met Jason Weiner was when I was running for mayor. And this slightly diminutive fellow with a lot of hair everywhere showed up at a depot fundraiser that I was having, and I hadn't recalled ever seeing in my life, and he grabbed a shrimp wonton and got directly in my face and asked some completely legitimate question about how I intended to serve as mayor. It was a question about an issue, and I'm trying to nosh on wontons and get money out of people. that was the beginning of our acquaintance, and not so long after that, Jason elected to pursue a council seat in Ward 1, and I was super skeptical. I thought, wow, he was so in my face on this deal. He seems a little bit radical to me because I'm fairly moderate most of the time. And it took a while before I sat around a fire and gave him $50 and told him I would be happy to support him as a councilman. And that was the best $50 I ever spent. Jason Weiner is, with no offense to the intelligence in this room, because it's incredible, Jason Weiner is among the smartest human beings I have ever met. He has capacity to think, analyze, retain, process, and articulate ideas and concepts, and he can understand balance, and he gets that which is contrary, and he can work through ambiguity. And at the end of every decision I think he's ever made, he has offered sound reasoning for why he got there. And while on a few occasions I didn't get there, I got there with Jason a lot. And frankly, his friendship and his intelligence and his service on this body has made me a better mayor, because I am more thoughtful about a lot of what I do. Again, like Ed, his commitment to everybody is always a great reminder to me that the folks who have access to us can often influence us unduly, and we have to keep those who will never come to see us in mind. He has reminded us over and over again that half of the folks in this community rent, but that doesn't make them second-class citizens. It just means that they rent a place to live, and that's citizenship all day long. He has been a great supporter of really good things, and he is a balanced, thoughtful, asset, citizen, and man. And I am grateful to you, Jason Weiner, for your service and your friendship. I will note for the record that Mr. Weiner did not crash the fundraiser. I just discovered. Sorry? Probably. Second time around, for the record, this next award, ladies and gentlemen, goes to a representative award to Mr. Adam Hertz, who has served on the council from 2012 to 2016. It is one thing to be in a position where you don't often agree with the majority of your colleagues. It's one thing to be in a position where you don't necessarily agree with the policies and practices of the mayor, but it's quite another to be decent and thoughtful and smart about all of that. And I will tell you that Mr. Hertz, as someone who is not politically aligned with me, has always been remarkably respectful, and I think has added to the conversations that this body has had in ways that sometimes when we oppose each other, we're not able to do. A thoughtful, credible, respectful, intelligent voice of dissent is critical to a body like ours, and Adam has delivered that dissent with dignity, and I think he has provided an example in a place where some of his ideas may put him in the minority. He's provided an example to other folks who are interested in offering a minority viewpoint, a way to do it and be heard. And it is not always easy to be heard. So, Mr. Hertz, thank you for your service, and thank you for your dignity, and thank you for being here, because shouldn't you be sleeping by virtue of tiny child doing things? Yeah. Congratulations, Adam, and thank you. Oh, I'm making this go long. I apologize. Next, all the way from Ward 5, my friend Mike O'Haron. Ladies and gentlemen, this honors his service from 2012 to 2016. I first got to know Mike a little bit, oddly enough, when he was selling hot dogs. Not that I ever consumed a hot dog, but I was aware that hot dogs were a thing, and people would occasionally eat them. Actually, the first time I saw Mike in a government meeting, in a council meeting, was he was interested in the street vendor ordinance, and he engaged himself in that, asked appropriate questions, and later I got to know Mike a little bit as he thought about issues around economic development. He ran for office once and lost. But the beauty of Mike is he thought, I'll try again. And so he did, and he was successful in that race, and he has been what I will describe in, this is a term of affection, he has been a steady Eddie. Mike is a guy who is always reliable. You can count on Mike to be thoughtful. You can count on Mike to ask questions that no one else might ask, because that's the way his mind works. You can count on Mike to try to think through problems in a different way. You can count on Mike to try to find consensus, to try to build coalitions, to try to create opportunities for more winners. And he exercises those traits and instincts and values every day at his job at the Department of Natural Resources and Conservation. And we are lucky that Mike has elected to serve the state of Montana, and we are also very lucky that Mike has elected to serve the Missoula City Council. He is a friend, he is also a mentor, and I will miss him. Thank you, Mr. O'Haron, for your service. So, the next certificate goes to a representative from Ward 3, Mr. Alex Taft, who has served from 2012 to 2016. Mr. Taft and I had a conversation in 2011, as a matter of fact. Councilwoman Rye was leaving the council, and it was one of those occasions where it didn't seem like anybody was showing up to run for that seat. And Alex had been very active in the bicycle pedestrian community, and that's largely where I got to know him. Also a little bit around Democratic politics. And what I knew about Alex was he was an advocate. And I learned early on that advocates are pretty much designed to wear you down. Their job is to needle you and harass you and provide you with information and show up at every place you show up and remind you relentlessly of what the right thing to do is, and that is advocacy. And if you do it right, eventually somebody bends to your will. And I found myself occasionally bending to Alex's will. But the other thing about Alex is that as he continued on his path of advocacy, one of the things that he discovered is that there are other points of view as well, and that there are other ways to get to a place, and sometimes getting to that place is a function of compromise or hearing a different idea or moving forward in a different way. And what I learned about Alex was that he was utterly committed to the community, and he wanted to use the knowledge that he had gathered over years of experience to try to make the place that he has fallen in love with even better, and ensure that the place that he has fallen in love with is better for the next generation. And he took that advocacy and I think turned it into into a commitment to service, and that commitment to service turned into a run for election, and that run for election turned into service on the Missoula City Council, where he has, again, exercised his considerable experience, energy, and advocacy to move a policy that he believed in forward. And he did so relentlessly through tremendous difficulty and opposition, and he did so successfully. He is a person whom I have come to respect and admire and appreciate, and it is my hope that someday I am in a funky fifth wheel taking advantage of all that Montana has to offer, and I hope that you do that. You have served us well, sir. Thank you, Mr. Taft. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, though his service has been short, representing Ward 4, Patrick Weaselhead, starting in 2015 and making it all the way to 2016. So what goes missing in this chamber, remarkably, and has for a long time, is the voice of Native people. I, once upon a time, and this is years ago now, invited a drum group to come to the Missoula City Council because I wanted to see Native Americans participate in our local government. And it was moving, and it was fascinating, and we learned a little bit about what the songs mean and what the call was. And fundamentally, we all want to honor the place, right? We want to honor its past. We want to honor its future. And what Mr. Weaselhead has done is remind us at nearly every city council meeting that we are all renters. We are all transients. We are all somewhere between ashes and dust. And while we are here, we need to respect the place, we need to respect the people, and we need to make sure that generation after generation after generation is aware of what happened and what will happen. And Patrick, I thank you for bringing that perspective to this body, and it's been a pleasure serving with you, sir. And while we don't have a plaque, sorry, I should be on the microphone, and I apologize, while we don't have a plaque, Mr. Weaselhead appropriately reminds me that he finished a seat that had been occupied by Councilwoman Caitlin Koppel. Caitlin served also with distinction and passion and energy. She managed to do 27 things simultaneously. I am now at 51 capable of doing one thing simultaneously, maybe. And she questioned how we did things. She questioned why we did things, and she brought energy and some of her own dissent to the body in an entirely appropriate way. And when she got too damn busy, she recognized it, and some people don't recognize that. And she deserves credit for that and for all that she did while she was a councilwoman as well. And thank you for letting me take the time to pay my respects to all of you. And I will miss every one of you in your own way, and I look forward to serving with the folks who are sitting behind us. You'll have opportunity here before too long to go next door and nosh. But now we move on to council comments, which is another chance to sing praises if you are so inclined. And this evening we'll start with Mr. Taft.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just so very grateful to have served for 4 years on the council. As the mayor mentioned, I spent my career as a bureaucrat and a consultant for cities, and having ended it as a politician for a city, I'm really proud of, believe it or not. Politicians get a bad rap, I think, and I can tell you it's really been a nice ending to my career. I'm also very hopeful for the city. I think its future is very bright. I think we'll see many successes. We'll see successes in our environment and in our economy and in our culture, and I can't wait to see it all. Thanks.
Thank you for the nice words, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to the voters of Ward 2 for giving me the opportunity to serve you over the past 4 years. Some folks might not know that I was elected by a thin margin of 5 votes and had 6 in-laws living in the ward. So not only am I in debt to my in-laws forever, but I'm also indebted to the voters of Ward 2, and I really appreciate and am honored by the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you to the voters of Ward 1 who've allowed me to serve you, and the non-voters. I'll try to serve you too. And thank you to my colleagues that I've served with over the years, and to the mayor for the kind eulogy, or I don't know what you call it, benediction. Yeah, and I also want to thank Marty, without whom I could have gotten much less done and probably also broken some laws. And to Kelly and Nikki, who's probably, I'm sure, watching this wherever she is right now, and to Kirsten. And also in the mayor's office, Heidi and Jessica now, and Linda and Melanie before, all of whom have, really, it is a part-time job, and you definitely don't get anything done without the support of the full-time people who are here, which is very gracious. And don't have any substantive comments for you because you're not done hearing from me, so I'll be watching. Do good work.
As some of you, maybe most of you are aware, I'm having a little difficulty talking without pain, so I'm very distressed at that. I'm remembering when Councilman Jim McGrath gave his final comments. I believe he spoke for half an hour because he figured he was due. I'd love to do that, but I can't. So maybe in a month I'll come and take 3 minutes at a time. We know what I'll be reading. So thank you, Mayor. I appreciate your kind words. Of the people I've ever met, I think you have to be the best orator that I've ever heard. You're a wonder, and I appreciate your persistence on getting this water company for the city of Missoula. We need it. I know it's not finished, but it's almost there. I guess I better stop. This side of this table is going to be empty except for Annalise, and she's going to break in 5 of the 6 new members right over here, so go get them.
I just realized that myself once everyone started getting awards, that I was the only person on this side of the table not getting a plaque. So for the safety of council in the future, we should probably redo the seating arrangement soon.
Since day one of submitting my application to fill Caitlin Koppel's position, I was not sure what City Council did or what the goals were, and I had a very high learning curve of reading documents, especially that big document of water issues. And I kept thinking after myself, once I got elected, and I really did say, oh shit. but I knew that I had to roll up my sleeves and do the best I possibly can, because not only was I representing Ward 4, but I was representing the city of Missoula, and even more than that, people of color. When I came on board, my colleagues told me that you're the oldest, you're the darkest, you're the tallest, all these sort of things, and you have a PhD, and so why? And they said, were you the first with a PhD? And I found out there's like 3 others on city council before me who've had PhDs and through the process. So I don't mind being called Mr. Weaselhead. Dr. Weaselhead would have been nice once in a while, but that's not here nor there.
You write me a prescription, I'll take care of it.
I told Ward 4 when I ran for election that John DeBari is probably one of the best options for the city council, and I had no issues whatsoever of help supporting him as well. Running that race was an eye-opener, and through the process, it was a win-win situation for me, because now I can truly go out in retirement and get a sprinter and travel to Indian reservations across the country. But colleagues at this table and some of the staff members that I've met through this last 10 months or 11 months has been heartwarming to know that the city's in good stead and that we will continue to grow. And hopefully some of the things that I contribute to the city council in my short term here has been valuable enough that down the road we'll remember some of those things as new council people and current council people. So it's been a joy serving the city of Missoula in Ward 4. Thank you.
Well, it's been an honor knowing all of you, and I've learned from all of you. And hopefully I'll keep learning as the new ones take on. I appreciate your commitment to Ward 4. I really appreciate getting to know you. And remember breakfast at the Hawks on Wednesday at noon. So, I also want to say, Jason, thank you. You and I had our ups and downs, but I respect you for your intelligence and the way you handle things. Ed, I'm going to miss you too, so hopefully we see you at the League of Cities that you'll keep going. Mike, I also want to mention, and Alex and Adam, you all did just good. I also want to mention that remember our service people over the holidays. Some of them have already given their lives up here in the last week so we can have our freedom. So let's remember them in our prayers and our thoughts, because being away on holidays was a hard thing for me, and I know it's a hard thing for the people that serve now. So thank you.
Thanks, John. You remember the time you almost threw me out of your house when I came over to see you? You came really close. I had to ask you not to throw me out. It was great. So I'm not going to do a Jim McGrath, but I've got a couple minutes worth of material, and it's really coming from the heart, even though I'm going to be reading it, a lot of it. I've enjoyed my term on the council. There's a level of seriousness to this job. Just today I heard from a resident of Ward 5 who's very concerned about activities at one of the neighboring houses. It sounds really serious, and I hope I can make a difference in the next week before my term is up. As a counselor, it's not easy to do a great job if you work full-time or if you have your own business, or both. I want to say straight out that some of my colleagues have done a better job at it than me, clearly, and I admire them, and I apologize for the times I couldn't be here. Mostly it would have been Wednesdays due to my regular job. Thank you to Jason Weiner. 7 years ago, I scheduled lunch with the mayor, and Jason, who I had not met, joined us. After listening to my conversation with the mayor, he suggested I think about running for council to represent Ward 5. Thank you to the people who helped me get elected. I ran twice. I lost the first time, and I won the second. I could not have done that without the help of many people. Thanks to the residents of Ward 5 who cast their vote for me, and for the residents of the city from Ward 5 and other wards for writing in and calling me with their concerns. I hope I did a decent job representing you. Thanks to my wife for supporting my 2 candidacies and for living with an elected official in the House.
I have a sincere appreciation for the employees of the City of Missoula at all levels. Marty, Kevin, Dale, Jim are all here. Thank you for your service to the city and the community of Missoula. To the staff, including department managers who routinely present their work to us here in council, you have been excellent, and I will miss seeing you and hearing your presentations. Keep up the good work. Thanks to all those from numerous boards, commissions, agencies, both staff and board members. These are organizations like Missoula Downtown Partnership, Missoula Housing Authority, Homeward, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And a big thanks to the neighborhood council members and the UM students who are doing a great job at the most basic level of civic action, grassroots level on the sidewalks and in the school cafeterias as volunteers at those meetings in the evenings. Thanks to all the counselors, to President Marler for her smart, diplomatic, and excellent leadership. And thanks to Mayor Engen for setting a good example in many ways, including demonstrating civility and inclusion in this chamber. The mayor takes being mayor very seriously, although gratefully you don't take life real seriously. And I'm glad John is our mayor. He does a lot of things for people in need that most people don't know about, and he does a lot of things on weekends because he's asked to help. And I want to say to the mayor, thanks for initiating and persevering with the acquisition of Mountain Water. It took a lot of guts and love for your hometown to get this far. So many thanks, and I hope you enjoy whatever you celebrate this time of year, if anything. Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, solstice, New Year's, whatever it may be. Many thanks, good luck, and good evening.
Thanks, everyone, for your service on council and for the wonderful speeches tonight. It's heartwarming, actually, to hear from everybody. I would really like to continue saying thank you next door where there's appetizers and cake waiting for us. But before we do that, I have to just say a few nice things about Ed Childers in particular, not to just, I appreciate all of you who are moving off the council, but I just wanted to especially thank Ed for being my friend and supporter and mentor for more than 12 years, going back to when I was a botany contractor for the Parks Department, working on noxious weeds on the newly acquired open space. Ed was always real engaged in that, and I appreciate his care of natural areas around Missoula and his special brand of diplomacy, and for being encouraging when I expressed any inkling of interest in running for city council. He encouraged me to do that and helped me to do that, and he's been supportive the whole time. And even when I said, hey, I'd like to be city council president, he was supportive of that and even nominated me. And I'll miss you, Ed, and even though I'll see you around town. And I'll miss all y'alls. I'll miss you.
Thanks for your service, each of you. Alex, Adam, Jason, Ed, Patrick, Mike. Everybody has kind of covered it, but I wanted to add my thanks. I have learned, first and foremost, you've been just great stewards of the city and for the city, and I think that's reflected. Certainly all of the work that you've all put in is reflected here. I'm so happy to live in Missoula, and it's so largely thanks to the work of people like you. And selfishly, I've just learned so much from each one of you, and I'm really, really grateful and appreciative of that. So thanks.
I can't add much to the conversation beyond what's been said. I sure appreciate getting to know all of you and working with all of you. Some of you started out as my little TV friend when I was watching council before I was on the council and learning about it and everything. And it occurs to me now that maybe the 6 of you should, you can't have the primetime Monday night slot, but maybe the 6 of you should start an MCAT reality show.
Thanks for everybody for saying nice things. I'm not very comfortable with sentiment, so I've been fiddling with my phone the whole time. But next door, I'll say thank you personally because I do have a lot of strong feelings, and I'm really grateful.
Well, thank you all. Is there something, do you want to talk about your discomfort with sentimentality now? Ms. Bentley, because I'm here for you. And so are these people. bless your hearts. You are all fantastic tonight. It was lovely to see all of you and hear from all of you. We don't have a single committee report this evening, nor do we have new business. Are there any